Hello, Internet. Welcome to that Silverline show on Tuesday. We have the wrong banner. I'm your host, Tim TK, joined as always by Jose Fuentes.
Hello.
And David Rios.
Hello. Well, almost always. We did both.
Almost. I was just about to say almost always. Sorry, Tim.
You're good. Brent is currently out tonight, and so is Ron. Ron should be back next week, and we hope Brent is too. But until that time,
Ron went off the grid. Ron's not communicating with anybody. He's like, I'm going on vacation for 3 weeks. Bye.
Yeah, he went on super vacation. So
right.
I did email him a little bit, so he's doing well, it seems.
Nice.
But yeah, he should be back next week if scheduling holds as planned. I mean, maybe that's something we lost in our current age. You know, when you go on vacation, you're still expected to answer business emails, right? Or like do a little bit like side hustle work. Right. No, back in the day, like if you went on vacation to the family, you were gone. No business calls, nothing.
I know when, I mean, you separate, right? Like, oh, I'm going on vacation. Don't touch me. Don't talk to me. Don't call me. Like you will not find me. And that stopped being the case, at least with me and my wife, with our business, because she gets calls all the time. So like we always try and do things where like she can't be called at all. So like we'll go on a cruise where she doesn't have any connection. You know what I mean? So like no phone connection at all. It stays in the drawer on the boat. Or in June we went to Europe. Like, hey, you guys can't call me. I'm in Europe. I can't call you back. It's like, sorry guys.
Yeah.
So
that's later this month. I'm taking a week off work to go work Kimoricon. So.
That's cool.
If you're in Portland and you want to go, if you're into anime conventions or multimedia conventions, stop by Kimoricon and find me somewhere on the floor or in the press office. I'll be running around.
What are you dressing up as this year?
This year I'm doing Urian J from Final Fantasy XIV. He has a beach outfit from the most recent expansion, so doing that.
Nice.
Doing Guillaume from Demon Slayer. And Happy Chaos from Guilty Gear.
Okay, I don't know what that one is, but that's cool. I like the pictures you showed from was it last year that you went?
Yeah.
When you did like the Spider-Man pose, like the multiple.
Yeah.
Like that was cool.
Yeah, and all the
insults. Was Guilty Gear originally a game or originally an anime?
It was a game that got turned into an anime that and it's kind of bounced back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And most recently with Strive, what they did is they released 2 seasons of an anime packaged within the game.
I remember the game. I just didn't know if it originally started. I know they've had multiple games and all that. It's just I didn't know if it started, which way it started with. So.
Yeah, originally it's been the same director ever since it started out because it's kind of just like his baby, and he also writes the music for it. So that's kind of the joke is that he writes an album and then creates a game to package it. But yeah, the most recent. So what Strive did is they didn't do, and Strive is going to be like their long-term support game as a service type deal, where they're just constantly releasing seasons of new characters to play online. So they didn't do a story mode. Instead, what they did is they released the core game, and with it, they released essentially 2 seasons of anime. So they have the story. When you click into story, it's just prepackaged episodes, or you can watch it through as a movie, which is like 5 hours long. But
dang.
Wow.
And that is the story of Guilty Gear, and they also have like an index so you can go back and reference things that they missed because it's a very deep and weird and interconnected and very you can tell that he smokes the little weed type story. I mean, some of my narratives get there too, especially when Soul Tonight comes out. People are going to wonder what I'm on. Anyway.
Yeah.
So that actually ties in a little bit too.
We'll take a poll.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll take a poll.
Yeah, I'll make that a stretch goal. So,
right,
a stretch goal is an edible recipe. That ties a little bit into tonight's topic, which is Grimdark. Because Guilty Gear kind of falls into Strive, not so much because they're starting to rebuild the universe, but it fits into the genre known as Grimdark for the most part, which is often defined by gloomy dystopian atmosphere with sort of amoral, violent tones, morally ambiguous characters, and a bleak outlook on life. It's not great. Warhammer 40k, of course, is kind of the pinnacle example of this, right? forget all hope of progress, therefore there is none, there is only war and the laughter of the thirsting gods. Case in point. If you watched Altered Carbon on Netflix or read the books, that's a really good one. Cyberpunk 2077 fits into I call it like grim cyberpunk, right? It's right in the line.
Shadowrun
a little more so, yeah. Vampire the Masquerade kind of naturally the thing is that you as the players are morally ambiguous, right? You have your own code of honor and code of conduct, but for the most part, you're doing what you think is right or what's best for you. And a world that is, the vampires like the humans are food or property, or, even the best, most altruistic clans, like the humans are nice little pets that we take care of. This Louis being those.
Speaking of which, are we planning this year, Tim? Are we?
We are playing this year. I actually have to change on the calendar to put it on there, but yes, we are planning doing one this year. Because if you followed us for the years, or if you're new and listening to us on podcast services around the globe, every year we get this crew together and maybe a few guests to play a game of Vampire the Masquerade. We have had an ongoing campaign now for 3 years-ish?
3 years? I think so.
Which, okay, that sounds insane to have an RPG continue on for 3 years, right? Because if we played a weekly campaign, you know that does not happen. But also, I feel like it's easy that we play one game a year.
Right.
The most manageable RPG.
Details.
Yeah. It's the most manageable RPG campaign. But also, it's kind of nice because also to kind of structure it like a movie, right? And what I like about comics, you get the contained one-shot, or not one-shot, contained like story beginning, middle, and end within one issue, and maybe some threads to pull on the next one, which is also why I'm liking Matt Fraction's Batman, which is the opposite of Grimdark because he actually knows how to write Batman. Anyway, getting lost in the sauce. Anyway, so it does not necessarily need to be characterized by hyperviolence, but it ties in well with themes of horror because, when you're dealing with things like Altered Carbon and Warhammer, particularly, you can throw in a lot of horrific elements to add to the gloomy dystopian atmosphere. Warhammer, you literally have demons and ghosts and all these things from the beyond that are actively murdering people, and there's a lot of body horror and some existential horror, things like that. Altered Carbon, you have as well some body horror and some psychological social horror, right? It's the idea of you can't trust who you are. They're like you can't trust your identity. Also another comic that kind of fits this. Also Cyberpunk Clear, available via the Amazon independent creation thing. It was done as a team that sold their comic to Amazon, so it's available on if you have Comixology Prime, or if you just want to buy it through there, you can get the actual hardback now. It's great. So it's a subgenre defined by its setting atmosphere, almost like a Western is to a point, right? And so because of that, you can use it to mix and match with other genres. So you have science fiction Grimdark or science fantasy Grimdark in Warhammer. You have cyberpunk Grimdark in Altered Carbon, things like that. If you really wanted to get strange with it, you could even do actually, it wasn't even strange. Castle Wolfenstein is almost like World War II war history Grimdark, right? So you can mix and match. It's just more so understanding the setting, the tone you're using, as well as having protagonists that are not your stereotypical good guys. Maybe they have, a heart of gold, or they're like good with an edge, or maybe they're just literally out for themselves, and that's why we're rooting for them, is because everything else sucks. So at least we want our one guy to get out alive.
Literally every story with Constantine.
Yes, Constantine, great example of Grimdark in comics. The Age of Strife, Age of Apocalypse era X-Force to an extent. Age of Strife.
Dude, I love Age of Apocalypse.
I've been. Have you seen the new X-Men of Apocalypse stuff that's coming out?
Yeah, the what was it? Evolution, Revolution, something like that.
Kind of like, yeah, but like, yeah, the art style on that is, I really dig it.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm not huge into Marvel for various reasons, but like I would be interested in picking up more than just like the zero issue I think I have.
Yeah. Age of Revolution and X-Men and Progress both coming out right now, and they're both very good. Actually, I need to realize I missed it. I realized I did not add Amazing X-Men to my pull box, so I need to go back and see if they still have number 1 of Amazing X-Men or if not add it, so I can get it next month at least.
Right.
Anyway.
So I looked up Grimdark, right, and some other books that are Grimdark, and I was shocked a little bit to see that Mouse is considered a Grimdark story. Like, that was interesting. I was like, oh, really? I mean, I get it. Like, if you ever read the book, it's about, you know what I mean? It's about, you know, was it the Nazis putting the Jews in concentration camp, but telling from the story of the Nazis were cats and the Jews and whatnot, and Polish people were mice.
Yeah.
It's probably one of my favorite stories.
Yeah, and that's just one of the things that I was that you can also tell real life stories through the Grimdark lens.
Right.
All's Quiet on the Western Front also, you could consider that grimdark in that it's gloomy, dystopian. There is no like positive outlook. You are following these soldiers on the Western Front knowing they're going to die as they're waiting for the enemy to come over the trenches, right? Mouse, I think, is a really good example of that. Because of the way that it handles the tone, the atmosphere, and
right,
even the morality of the narrator, as you point him, because you follow the through line of he almost grows to resent his dad with how either broken he is or how much he's falling apart and he can't fix him, so he falls in the state of resentment. So creating this sort of it's a real life feeling and real life person having this feeling, but it is this moral ambiguity that a lot of times we as people find ourselves falling into of the, you know, and that's also why I think Grimdark has the much staying power as it has, is not just like the cool factor of it, but also if you're dealing with moments like depression or anxiety, or if you're dealing with moments of like these high stress or high like negative impact scenarios, like you kind of find yourself falling into these moral, like even if you consider yourself to be an ethical or moral person, or you feel like you have a good sense of, you know, moral compass, you can find yourself falling into these pit traps of like, I don't know how I feel about this anymore. I kind of don't care.
Pretty much what every Call of Cthulhu game ever held.
Yeah.
That falls into that category, which I never got to play. For the record, Tim, I never got to play.
I have Call of Cthulhu. I have the rulebook.
There he goes.
All right. That's also that's an interesting game because it's a very tone heavy game like Vampire, but it is a little more crunchy in some of the rules. Will still So it walks this weird ground, and I find that that's almost like also kind of the case for Grimdark in general, right? If we're talking about like, if you want to do the equivalent of like rules light versus hard and soft systems in fiction, right? Brandon Sanderson has very hard systems. Like, you know exactly how magic works in those books. There is no question of a doubt, like, this thing does this thing because of this. But then you also have things like Lord of the Rings, which has a soft magic system, which is Gandalf smashes his staff and makes a light because he's Gandalf.
Because he's Gandalf, exactly. That's a magical power.
Yeah. And so Grimdark, you find that, like, especially if you're reading things like Warhammer, or also I was looking up references there, Berserk, great manga, also very Grimdark. Guts with the Dragon Killer sword. You find you have these like larger than life or extravagant systems of things, right? Whether that be how demons are made or how magic works in Warhammer. Like, there are rules to a system, but for the most part, it's a soft system. It's like, well, you pull energy from the warp and you cast a spell. You don't need to like memorize a certain incantation or do a certain thing. It's kind of that how it explains it. Because Grimdark is more about the vibe or the atmosphere surrounding what's happening or what's being described.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would Dark Sun be considered a Grimdark setting?
I would say I think so. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's probably the most grimdark D&D set. I mean, you literally have like all the worst parts of Faerun plus the added terribleness of the people living there, right?
Right.
Like, the fact that it literally has a campaign of like, hey, you're a bunch of escaped slaves.
It's pretty much what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, the sun is going to kill you. Just so
Yeah.
you know, you are not going to live.
Absolutely. And then if I want to use like a visual reference, if you've watched it, the TV show Penny Dreadful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, things like that. The Alien universe also really fits that bill. You know, it's a cortopic. It's a also Blade Runner to an extent. It's a corptocracy. You are, if you are a normal person in this universe, your life exists at the convenience of the corporations. You either produce profit for them or you die.
Right.
And on top of that, you have the ever-living threat of either one of their failed experiments or a random astrological effect will just land a xenomorph colony on your planet, and now everyone's being eaten.
Right. One of them is going to happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Being Blade Runner to an extent, right? It's you serve for like either you're part of the justice system. I can't remember what the overarching body that controls the Blade Runners is called. I'm also reading Blade Runner Black Lotus, good comic if anyone's interested. Or you are, serving Voight Comp for one of these other industries, and the existence that you don't really have any upward mobility unless you are born to a wealthy family. You are stuck living underneath their acid rain, and it's even worse if you're a synthetic because you are literally, given sentience and then told you can't use it. Go mine on Mars.
Right.
Yeah. So kind of all these.
Blade Runner's a great setting.
I love Blade Runner. So all these things kind of tied together. So I guess I'll open it from this point. Now that we've kind of had this back and forth and nerding out, for those of you hopefully watching, this makes more sense now what Grimdark is. But do you guys have any favorite pulls for your favorite Grimdark settings or favorite Grimdark stories? I know I mentioned mine being Warhammer 40k, Blade Runner, these kind of things, but what are some of your guys' ideas on things that fit the spell for you?
I think V for Vendetta is considered a Grimdark storyline. It's all very, heavy, like semi-heavy politics and whatnot, but like it's very like dystopian, like, and not just the movie for anybody that knows, like the comic itself was like actually really, really good. But yeah, that's probably one of the ones that falls. And then for role playing, I would say, I don't know, does Deadlands fall into that category as well?
I'd say Deadlands good, yeah.
And Deadlands would probably be like in regards to like role playing and stuff like that. Definitely like a genre I enjoy. That just abandon all hope. all who come to this table.
Yeah.
I don't know. As far as role playing things, the only one I've really done is the vampire. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. It kind of really took me out of my comfort zone. Not sure if I could pin down anything else. You did mention Altered Carbon, and I did really enjoy that series. I know it's kind of mixed. A lot of people love the first series, and the second series not as much. But I did that.
Yeah, I still need to go through and follow the second series, but I know that's kind of close to the books, and that it's the same guy, but just he jumps bodies all the time because the nature that he exists more as a data disk than he does as an actual person.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if you think about it, is a pretty amazing concept.
Yeah.
In regards for the movies, the shows, and stuff like that, because you don't have to have the same actor. Some actors like, oh, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. Oh, no problem. Oh, look, you're in a new body. Now, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you follow. I mean, when you're following this series, even in the same, in the first season on the TV show, it's like um, you weren't in the same actor. I mean, Joel Kinnaman did one iteration of him,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
but you had him in different bodies throughout time. Just when they decided to basically pull his disc and throw him in somebody else.
Yeah.
But I liked a lot of the dark twist and how things ended, and how everything intertwined, and you're kind of going, what's going on with this, and then as the series goes through, it all starts to tie together and make sense, and you
Yeah.
realize who the players are and what their connections are. It was really good, and you also gotta love a big tough guy running around with a pink backpack.
Yeah. Yeah.
With a Hello Kitty type backpack on. It was great.
Yeah. I'll get into some of that, but what also really serves really well, and I think what really kind of solidifies its place in Grimdark is, I don't know how well the TV show explored all these, because again, my main experience is with the book, but you also get these philosophical questions that happen with it. I think are really kind of part and parcel of Grimdark. Of, well, he's this guy who's exists at the pleasure of the UN, and then again at the behest of the LAPD, gets pulled out to do an investigation, or SFPD, I can't remember what city they're in. But and again, he is just as stated, this gets shoved into a body, so he doesn't really have a sense of identity, and he more or less is being treated like a tool, because that's what he's been since he moved into his career of being a mercenary. And then you get the sense of well, how do you define yourself? How do you act yourself? Because if you are in a different body, your body's going to act differently. It's going to be different. And mention he'll have fuzzy memories that are locked because it's the body's kind of rejecting what the disc is trying to put in. Also moments where I don't know if they did this in the TV show. But in the book, there's a moment where he gets put into the body of a pregnant woman and is being tortured by the bad guys.
No, that wasn't in there.
Crazy. Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, so that's in the book. But that was that'd be a very insane thing to put on, even Netflix.
Yeah, it was definitely a little different from that. I mean, yeah, it was, basically in there he was brought back, obviously the police program, but he was basically brought back from the guy that was the major corporation, the head guy. But there's some cool things, because he's there trying to solve the murder of the guy that brought him back.
Yeah.
Because there's a gap in the records. Whenever you die and you come back and you get a new disc, there can be that period between when you were your last backup to when you go back.
Yeah.
Your last backup. So there's a lot of interesting things, and it was good to see a lot of the internal struggle going on, and a lot of the the dark flashbacks of him in different bodies in different situations. You've got the ones where he's kind of a little more young and inexperienced and all that stuff, and then you've got other flashbacks where it's like he comes in and it's an all-out firefight, just very violent, death scene, just a lot of death scenes and stuff like that. It's very, very dark, but not knowing what's going on and who he can trust and what people know and what part they play and what he thinks he knows and what he doesn't know. There's a lot of interesting twists and turns that they can do with it. So that they did with it that was pretty dark.
Definitely.
And it plays on, your kind of like you have a sense like, oh, when you watch a movie like that, you watch a show like that, I think we naturally, instinctually want to like root for the good guy, right? But when the good guy is not a good guy, you know what I mean? It just, you're like, it kind of confuses you a little bit. At least it does me. You're like, man, that guy's obviously clearly the protagonist, but God, he's a jerk.
Yeah.
Well, another one I like. I don't know if it classifies as a great movie, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Was the Sylvester Stallone, the Samaritan? Because, sorry, spoilers or whatever. You go through the whole thing thinking that this guy is the hero trying, and then you find out that he was always the bad guy. Just the way it is, and he's kind of turning his life around type thing. But in the story of the history of the good guy and the bad guy and all the references about oh, you were a big superhero and you were my big hero and all this stuff, and he was a bad guy. I thought that was fantastic, and it's like he didn't come in making excuses. Kind of, even if you kind of bleed over into things like a movie I really love, Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven.
Yep.
His character was a very bad guy, but his wife, when he met his wife, turned him around and put a sense. But then all the events that happened show you how truly bad of a guy that he could be. He was, and he tried to go back afterwards to his life, to the life that his wife gave him and all that stuff. But and you saw deep down that bad part of him still exists in him. He's just buried it. And I like a lot of the, a lot of things that that play on those type things, because everybody's trying, figuring it out, and they're going along. Oh, he's gonna, he's gonna save the people. The bad guys are gonna get their thing and whatever, and he's a good guy. He just doesn't happen to be wearing the white hat, And when they throw that in of how dark that people can be, it messes with your concepts of what you think. And I think, in this topic that we're in, that's kind of a big thing, is, kind of realizing how deep and dark things can get.
Yeah. I mean, kind of V for Vendetta, but pulling on another Alan Moore property, Watchmen. You have a character like Rorschach who you want to feel like they're onto something right. And like, that like there's something there, but they're just not quite good enough of a detective to get it, and they're so bent on so many different things, like so many different, like someone who's hell bent on like just a little bit off target, and is also, willing to, at this point, has kind of lost their sense of being a hero and is willing to commit acts of violence in order to get there. And like, even as they like fight to uncover things or fight to like reveal the truth, so somebody else can do something about it. It's you're watching this guy kind of fall apart, and you're wanting to root for him, but also that like there's no way they're coming out of this and looking good. And then you deal with the fact that all of his friends have turned against him as well. Have created this atmosphere of there is something oppressive coming. There's something like, in the comics, like there's literally something affecting the minds around him, but in the movie, not so much. But and being just essentially like having already lost by the time you get there. While that's not necessarily like a trademark of Grimdark, I feel like that's a tool that gets used a lot in Grimdark, or it's something that like in Warhammer 40k, essentially, it is implied that the battle was lost 10,000 years ago, and these are just the remnants holding on to like what semblance of order they can have.
Like you may win, but there's no winning.
Yeah.
You know. But that's, I mean, first off, my favorite chapter is the Rorschach chapter in that book. Entirely.
Yeah.
It's the most amazing chapter because the entire chapter, entire page layout is done as a Rorschach test.
Yeah.
Not sure if you guys knew that. It's my favorite thing to open up. Just in every page you have, it's a Rorschach test. So amazing. Such a group. Oh my gosh. Anyway, but yeah, that's in that story, you know, without giving away all too many details. But guys, if you haven't read it by this point, come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there is no winning. You know what I mean? There is no, like you said, no hope. You know what I mean? In a Grimdark story, it really isn't. It's you may win, but you're going to get tainted. You know what I mean? In the process, and definitely, Watchmen was that same thing. You know, like there's, it was obviously portrayed differently in the movie, but you know, the bad guy throughout the whole thing, their logic was, I'm doing this for the greater good, even though it's just horrific what they do. You know what I mean? Like I said, there's no good guy, there's no bad guy in stories, in Grimdark stories. It really is just chaos and just dark, like, I don't even know, dark answers. You know what I mean? Like, no one walks away clean from a Grimdark story in any way, shape, or form. There's no walking away clean from that.
Definitely. You have to get into the portion of it now on how to make Grimdark, or how to create like Grimdark comics. You come into the writing aspect of that is you are writing a tragedy, but not necessarily in the classical sense, right? In that, like, a tragedy, it ends in the unraveling, right? The protagonist is undone by their mistakes. Where in a Grimdark, like, the unraveling may have already happened, right? Either a protagonist or someone related, or like someone else has made all the mistakes and the world is already unraveled, or is in the process of the unravel. And so your character is essentially, instead of ascending on the hero's journey, they're constantly falling down a pit. And they may still complete a hero's journey by the end of it, but it's going to be, when they do the return with the elixir, right? It's not, the world is not necessarily better for doing so. It's the world is, they have forestalled and kept the status quo for maybe another day longer. I think there's a really good Warhammer 40k book called Red Tithe, which follows what has become one of my favorite chapters, the Carcadrons, which are people that have been mutated to have shark-like teeth and shark eyes, so they can see in pitch black, and they're motion predators, but they're also space marines. They have a thing called the Red Tithe, which entitles them to claim the population of any present planet as chapter recruits. And so they arrive to this planet. It is also being attacked by a group of Chaos Marines known as the Night Lords, and their whole thing is they take the worst of the worst, and the people that show really good killing instinct, they make them Chaos Marines. Everyone else gets flayed.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. And so the best bet of this is the Carcadrons, winning this conflict, and these prisoners being turned into these half shark predator people, or being kept as slaves on their ship to serve at the leisure of the chapter. Because the other outcome is these people being turned into half demon monstrosities, and the rest of them having their skin torn from them while they're still alive.
No fun.
Yeah.
There was no win. Yeah, no win there.
There's no win, but you're rooting for the slavers essentially to win and turn these people into shark people. And it is, again, they complete this hero's journey through one of the characters who's on the prison planet and one of the characters who's from the Carcadrons. Both complete a hero's journey. And at the end of it, the Shark Man is returning to the elixir that he is bringing back fresh meat to be turned into Space Marines to his ship to replenish all the losses they just suffered in this battle. So, like, they're essentially their winning is returning to status quo. And the character who was on the Prince Planet, their return with the elixir is they have gained this new psychic power tainted by dark gods, but is now under protection of these shark marines. So there's a victory, but it's one of those things where you're getting, you're like, did anyone really win? Or if they did, is that a win that like I should feel good about?
Right.
So when you're writing this, you're creating this hero's journey or this tragedy, and you're completing the story, and the end result is going to be like, even if it's a victory, it's one that feels bleh. Or if it's a tragedy, the unraveling ends in just kind of this either acceleration to catastrophe for more than just a protagonist, or perhaps their unraveling is actually the first element that creates the status quo, right? It's the classic thing in Lovecraftian where the guy completes journey and during his false death moment, he actually becomes corrupted by the Emperor in Yellow or what have you, and begins to do a thing before his companion shoots him, and that unraveling is like, oh, we need to get out. We made this so much worse than we need to.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so kind of like the properties we mentioned have very strong visual identities as well. Obviously, Warhammer, all the cyberpunk things, Deadlands as well, have these very strong visual identities, visual properties. So when you guys are thinking of creating a grimdark atmosphere, one that is gloomy, dystopian, I think that rule of cool, right? The cooler you can make the visual, kind of offsets some of the awfulness, so it helps with the buy-in initially, especially in comics, because the cover is what's going to sell a book. So if you can get a cool-looking cover, and then you just ambush the reader with awfulness inside, if the battle's halfway there. But do you guys think that strong visual identities, like creating these either strong silhouettes, strong color schemes, or absence of strong, like in the case of like,
I think every cover should have like a Hello Kitty style of coloring, just so when they pick the book up, nothing on the inside matches. Excuse me.
Wow, you're just evil to our viewers, aren't you?
Right. Now you're gonna love this story. It's great for the whole family. Everybody in the book is slaughtered. Have a nice day.
Okay, I mean,
I would imagine, right? Because I don't think I've ever done a book quite like that, but I feel oh my gosh, no, that should never be on the internet ever. Imagine being the other player getting destroyed by that army.
Yeah,
you couldn't talk about it. You're like, oh, how was your evening of playing Warhammer? Oh, it was fine. We got pizza.
Yeah.
Did you win or what? No, pizza was great.
Do you have any pictures or anything? No pictures.
No. Just a normal night. Like, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm going to bed. But I mean, I feel interiors for something like that, something a little dystopian and whatnot. I want to say it should be dark, should be lots of heavy blacks. It also should be like a rugged pencil or inks, right? Like very scratchy, very not quite like was it Jim Mahfood? Not quite that scratchy, but more like trench. Does that make sense? But I mean, it's an interesting concept because I've seen, was it the comic book for Alter Carbon?
Yeah.
That wasn't anything like that. You know what I mean? So that really played a good story. I don't know. There's a lot of options. It doesn't have to be gritty. Like I said, I mean, you can get all the Hello Kitty Warhammer army in a comic book, and that would still be pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting. Some things, depending on your style, I don't know. I kind of find a hard way to describe this, but one of the things that I was just just thinking about, something that's disturbing is don't know if you've seen the latest cover for the Lucky Devils. I guess it's the B cover for the Lucky Devils, image book by Charles Soule. It's just a disturbing cover. I think I have it here, but I'm just. It doesn't go along with a lot of or it follows a monster theme of the book. But when I think about something and how different it can be, it's like that to me is just an extremely disturbing cover. So I'll give me a sec here. Almost.
Yeah, you don't get lost in the comics.
This to me is this very disturbing cover.
Oh yeah,
That's very creepy.
I like that.
But when you're talking about, when we're talking about this topic, this cover came in mind for me, and you're talking about, what could you do? It's like you can really push the envelope for how you're doing, and as much as this disturbs me, I think it's great cover because it goes through.
Right. It's very simple. Like was it just penciled work or ink?
It was. I think it was inked. I'm pretty sure it was inked too, but not heavy inked. It's very, very light. But you can. That kind of goes in the opposite direction of what you're talking about with the the bright pink Hello Kitty covers and all that to throw people off as well. So I don't know. I don't know where I'm going, but going with this.
I get that. I mean,
Go ahead, Tim.
Oh, I'll let you go because
So I kind of like that angle of that cover and whatnot because was it Little Monsters did the same thing. Like the covers weren't like I don't feel they gave a clue of what was going on in the book at that particular issue, but they were all like a little, to me, like either they took like a vintage kind of look, or it was very like I don't know. You got a very macabre feel from the cover just by like the tone and the colors on it. And it varied from like cover to cover, but like it all followed that same feel. You definitely like oh, you know what I mean? It kind of pushed you back a little bit.
Well, you've got certain kind of things that run through. I mean, a great line was that followed something like that. It established a series type of covers that didn't necessarily, jump with the book. Was the Vertigo line? The Vertigo line, a lot of those, they took each of the runs, the Shade Changing Mans, the the Sandmans, and they had consecutive styles and things like that. That hinted at what was going on, but the interior of the books were, the artwork was a lot different and all that. But they managed to keep that cover theme going to follow through on it. So
yeah, I just have Vertigo's Heavy Liquid in my other room, and like let's see if we find that one.
Yeah,
That's also one of the things where it gives. It's a simple enough cover, but it's well, no, I'm just getting treatments for the Vertigo. Okay.
Well, if you kind of think about it, even now, look at the stuff they're doing with the Absolute Martian Manhunter books.
Yeah,
that book is crazy.
It's so bizarre.
I know. I've also been loving Absolute Superman, which is. Absolute Superman is an interesting take on like how can you have kind of a grimdark world but still have a hopeful character in it. But yeah, just like it's more or less just kind of a portrait cover, but it's done in a way that is kind of uncanny and a little eerie, and
it's a lot of eerie. Don't say little eerie. That's a lot of eerie.
But like the way the way that the face is distorted in the and like the ratios work artistically, but they don't work anatomically, right? And so that creates this like, concept of like something's going on here.
Well, for me, the first thing I jump in, with my previous inking stuff was, I'm looking at that picture going, yeah, there's a lot of heavy ink liquid going on. There's a lot of solid black in that picture that just kind of, that's the setting point for me. It's like, hey, there is heavy liquid.
Yeah.
But I do, the distorted face, the feel, you get that kind of, I look at that guy and I think, oh, somebody did kind of a rendition of Mick Jagger. And, so it's like, yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah. I think also kind of going back to something that Jose mentioned earlier about having kind of like, this like a classic dystopian look or feel, while also having kind of popping colors, immediately brought to mind my favorite comic of all time, which is Tokyo Ghost, right? But it's
such a good book.
It's so good, but it combines some elements of like a couple of things. And one of the things that I learned this term recently, Shibuya punk, but it combines these elements of Shibuya punk, right? These bright, vibrant colors, anime girls, kind of like the weird, bubbly spray paint type look, as well, and then mixes it with some of the hard, stitchy lines that you see a lot in like Western military comics and things like that. And so you end up getting this where like the lines are sketchy, they're not as solid as it can be. Things are kind of jumping in and out where they should be, coupled with this vibrant, and it talks about it in the book, but it's the idea like this vibrancy is a distraction, and then it's this weird meta layer of that. If the vibrancy is literally a distraction to you as the reader, because there's literally a guy like in like almost sepia in the back bleeding out, right? And so it's one of the things where you're kind of looking for the moments of sepia and grayed out moments, because that's where a lot of like the real world is happening in the book.
I also think of some of the stuff like some of the Chris Bacalo covers that he's done.
Yeah.
Where you go in, you see Generation Next, where they really go and they and they push the highlights and the colors and the bright colors and all that. But then on the underlying piece, you have Bacalo's dark, kind of thicker lined, sketchy, awesome, his drawing. So you take all that out and you look at his black and white versions of it. There's such a big contrast between the two there, because they are pushing the colors and stuff like that.
Or anything from was it steampunk that he did? That has like the book, not the genre. The comic. I guess I should have clarified. My bad. The comic book steampunk, like that was very heavy blacks, heavy heavy line weights, and then like just touches of like vibrant colors for different things, here and there on the page, and it sold really well, like to me anyway, as just I wanted to pick up the next issue. I wanted to see, the story was pretty good, but I wanted to see the art from the next issue. I wanted to keep moving. So like that, but I feel that like that book was kind of set in the same. I don't know if that falls under Grimdark, but it's pretty cool.
I think it's
same principle, like still a dystopian, trying to survive. There's no hope for tomorrow. Just tuck your head and run.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's kind of I can't remember the show. Was it Blood and Bone? Was on Netflix? The steampunk-ish show that Netflix had a while ago.
I don't remember it.
Is that the one with the boats? Like they would have to go through the darkness?
Yes.
Shadow and Bone.
Shadow and Bone. But right, yeah, I can't like that was kind of like that same idea. That's like steampunk and Shadow and Bone remind me a lot of each other, but you get the same idea of like they create like there is like a beacon of hope or a prophet in this world, right? But also the world is so horribly gone, and all the prophet cares about is surviving to the next day. That they can't even like take time to like focus on that, which I feel like is probably stolen from the Black Company, but also every fantasy series steals from the Black Company now because that was kind of the Lord of the Rings of the 80s.
Right. But that follows like Shadow and Bone. That follows the the same principle. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
In that, like I said, the one hope, right? The one hope is trying to this person's going to be able to save everything, and then in the end, yes, but it changes things not always for the better. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, did we really win though? I mean, we changed the status quo, but did we really win? I don't know. You know what I mean? That was a good show though. I liked it anyway.
Yeah.
And I guess it's based off a book that I've never read.
I also have not read it. Yeah.
So now we have to read it, Tim. Is that what's going on?
Yeah,
put it on the list behind the other 11 books we have to read.
Exactly. I know. At some point, I'm gonna have to start Stormlight Archive. I got that next. I also got Dungeon Crawler Carl when you get there.
I have comics I still have to read. I have Edgar Rice Burroughs books I still have to finish. The last 2 books, I think 2 or 3 books for the Barsoom series, which I don't think that falls under Grimdark, but it's still a pretty good series.
Yeah.
People go and read. Pick up a book. It's fun, I promise. But yeah, man, Grimdark is such a good subject to talk about. It's a good subject to just to, I guess, show and talk to people about. I mean, especially during our wonderful Halloween, season that we have that we're coming into. But,
it's also, I think it's also really interesting because it serves also kind of like this cool middle ground or bridge point between horror and other genres, right? Where if some people may not be horror is not for everyone, right?
Right.
There's some parts that especially if you're not not everyone is going to enjoy splatterpunk, right? That is a very unique subgenre, but there are going to be elements of splatterpunk in Warhammer 40k that someone who likes military fiction or likes science fiction or likes wizard fantasy might appreciate. So you can get this kind of middle ground, and you can do that by pulling your genre into Grimdark. Things like A Case of Emerald, right? Where you pull the Sherlock Holmes detective, the narrative, and pull that into a grimdark Lovecraftian England. And now if you enjoy detective novels, if you enjoy period pieces, you kind of wrap this up in this cool existential horror piece. But because you're allowing space for your overarching genre to exist, it's not overpowering and it can make it more palatable. And so I know a lot of people who got into, so if you're wanting to get something spooky for Halloween or do something like that, I know not everyone is going to jump straight into something like I'm trying to find a parallel here. Not everyone's going to jump straight into something like a Blair Witch Project, but you might be able to get them into something like Alan Wake. There's kind of these elements, right, that you can kind of and it's been a long day. My brain just turned off.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, you can make these moments where if you're wanting to write something deeply messed up, which I enjoy doing as well. I like writing hyperviolence. I like writing kind of strange horror, absurd, whatever. But if you package it into this is going to be ancient fantasy, but I'm going to wrap it in Grimdark, and you kind of do something like not the Conan movie, but like the Conan comics, right? The ones that get like super into like the ancient Babylonian gods, right?
Yeah.
You can bundle it and like, okay, it's this epic ancient fantasy. Don't mind the giant flesh-eating monster behind the curtain.
Right.
Yeah.
Anything that follows in the same vein as Cthulhu, I will probably pick up and read, just because the idea that either the only way to win, the only way that the protagonist is going to win is to either sacrifice everybody or lose your mind.
Yeah.
Right. And like there is no winning. And like I said, in the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game, there is no winning. It's making it through a game session without losing your mind. And I feel like in regards, and I for one couldn't write a story like that. Like, I'll be honest, like that is not in my wheelhouse to do so. But man, I would
want it illustrated.
I would pencil and ink that all day.
I'll send you a script.
Right.
But yeah, you get the same idea of like something like, even if you go something like Berserk, right, where it's this cool power metal fantasy where someone may not necessarily be into kind of, you know, the traditional idea of like medieval demonology and like weird blood pacts and warlock, whatever, but you give them knights in shining armor or like kind of medieval England, medieval Germany type stuff, and they're into that. But then also you run into this idea of with Berserk where you have this one guy who faces against like the literal like being betrayed by his best friend who's made to deal with the dark gods, and like essentially he is facing like a unwinnable battle because he's really fighting against all the forces of hell, and he's just one dude. But you believe that Guts can do it because he himself is, throughout the course of the story, turning himself into more and more of a monster, not through like dark magic, but just through his willingness to dehumanize himself and, well, I guess to quote the game, dehumanize yourself and face the slaughter. Right? And it's like, oh, I can see this guy taking on all of hell. I don't want to be his friend, but I can see him winning.
Right.
Yeah.
I've never read it. Now I might have to look into it.
That's good.
But
there's another book on the list.
Right?
Yeah. It's,
number 14.
There's quite a bit of it. What's really cool is now you can either get it as like the affordable volumes because of the manga, so it's collected in volumes and they're pretty affordable, or if you want to like shell out a little bit of time, you can get the huge leather bound or I don't know, the large like hardbacks that are fairly massive that combine like 16 volumes into one.
The omnibuses?
The omnibuses, yeah, but there's like 16 or 30 omnibuses.
So last week was my birthday, right?
Yeah.
And my son got me volume 1 of I Hate Fairyland.
Nice.
Oh my sweet Christmas. I think I read the first like 5 or 6 issues before he bought me like years ago.
Yeah.
But holy cow. God. I would argue that falls under the same category.
Yes. Yeah.
Just a wanton mayhem and menace, and there is no winning. You know what I mean? So like, just holy cow, freaking Scotty Young is a madman. Yeah. That's all I gotta say.
You mean the guy that makes cute little Black Panthers and Doctor Stranges?
You make cute little fairyland people, and they got so decimated and slaughtered. Like, it's, if you've never read it, dude, read it. Like it's the craziest book.
I have that volume.
Okay.
I have. I've been.
And then I bought, which is funny because my son was gonna buy it for me, and then good thing he asked me because I had already bought it for myself. But I bought Danger Days, right? Or the Fabulous Life of the Killjoys. Like, I didn't know, like, I'm a huge My Chemical Romance fan. I didn't realize that there was a comic book for that, for like Danger Days album. And so there's the comic book, and it follows like more of the characters from the thing. But then there's the original story that they had first wrote. And I feel that one, National Anthem, that falls under the same category. Like, there's racing to the end over, like, what was it, surmountable odds. You know what I mean? Everything is against them, trying to stop them, trying to keep them in the program when they're starting to see what the world really is, and then in the end, like I said, there is no winning in the end. I mean, you might have a moment of happiness, but it's a pretty good book. Without ruining it for anyone, it's been, you shouldn't ruin it. That came out in 2020.
That's fair.
But yeah, like that, to me, that falls under the same category, like just a little bit.
So Tim, would that also fall under the, what is it, Steel-Blooded Orphans Gundam series?
Maybe. I'd almost say, Steel-Blooded Orphans a little bit, although it's a little. I don't know if that's like truly grimdark as much as that is kind of like a Hemingway novel told through Gundam.
Hold on. I'm trying to wrap my brain around that one.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking of all the dark and everything that the main kid in the series is. I mean, he's just getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah,
and it's just you have the whole thing of they're saving and all, but then it's like it's just such a dark undertone.
Yeah, because he actively has to destroy himself each time he pilots Barbados, and even like the good organization that they work with, like Gallahorn, only really has one decent guy with them, and even then they end up getting betrayed. And it definitely does have like a lot of like Grimdark elements in it, and I'd say the one thing that kind of stops it from being truly Grimdark is the fact that it does end with this kind of peace accord being done by the surviving woman. I'm trying to remember there is a very Grimdark Gundam. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Side series.
Did Tim short out? It sounds like
no, he's looking.
Yeah, I can see. So I'm trying to find the thing because even online people were talking about like IBO has shades of Grimdark but doesn't fully get into it. The one that probably gets the deepest, I'd almost think, is the 80th MS team, right? It's because you end up watching like essentially these kids become disillusioned with the war they're fighting to the point where they either like break ranks or stop fighting or dehumanize themselves. And I was like, well, okay, the only way to get through this is to become a murderer. Cool.
Yeah, it's been a while since I watched that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I just remember from Iron-Blooded Orphans just how messed up it was, and how everything. Kids are dying. They're getting physically just beaten and all that. I don't know. So
I think the Iron-Blooded Orphans definitely has like the most shades of Grimdark without going fully into the Grimdark pool. It's definitely like the closest to like stepping foot into it, especially in a modern sense. Trying to think of anything else that might. There is like the another mecha anime type deal that kind of falls in. I'd say is Blazritter, which I think is like fully Grimdark. I think it only ran for like 1 or 2 seasons, but you were following a half demon, half machine man, trying to essentially end the incursion of other machine demons into Earth, and process of doing so will essentially set humanity back into a dark age and kill himself. But he's like, well, I guess it's better than letting them become demon food.
What the heck?
Yeah, good. Claymore is also a really good Grimdark anime. If anyone was interested, yeah. Okay, well, this has been That's the one show on Tuesday.
Before we go, first of all, hey Pops, I said hey yo to the group. Also in there the Ozzy tribute book that gentleman up that way did some parts on. Did some contributing work. So check it out. There's a link to get the book, and a lot of people jumped in on that. So awesome.
Yeah, it's got quite a few really good art, like a lot of really good artists that donated a piece to it, like contributed a piece to it. So pick it up, buy it, make us happy, make yourself happy with some Ozzy art.
Definitely. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, all the social medias. If you're listening to us on the podcast services afterwards, leave a review, share with your friends. It helps a lot. If you want to join our conversation live every Tuesday night, follow us on YouTube or Madness Comics on Twitch. We're also on Roku, so if you're following Madness Comics on Roku, you can catch us as we go through on our broadcast for your background listening. It won't be live because that's the way TV works. But before we get into our final farewells, do you guys have any closing thoughts on Grimdark?
If you don't want to go, like you said, if you don't want to go full slasher, full horror, full eldritchy, everything, Grimdark is definitely a genre to look into. It's got a lot of room, you know what I mean, to tell a suspenseful story, to tell a flicker of light amongst the impending darkness kind of story. That's the avenue you're trying to go. So I definitely look into it. Tim loves them. I love them. Dave is going to love them
whether I like it or not.
That's right. That's all I got.
Okay. No, I'm good. I'm found today very interesting.
Okay. Well, I guess to summarize, you can even make Grimdark lighthearted.
Just remember, it's only a flesh wound.
Exactly.
That's right.
All right. We'll be back next week. Make sure to check out Wednesday WEM and Silver Sunday at 9 p.m. and 8 p.m. Pacific times, Eastern times. From Pacific. Yes. We'll be back next week on 8 Pacific. Google Calendar. And we'll be talking about a subject that is...
I like subjects.
Why do horror parodies sell?
Oh,
yeah. So we'll be talking about existing comics, existing genres, and making horror parodies of them. Why they work and how you can make them work for yourself if you're so inclined to parody something you like as a horror.
Excellent.
All right. But until that time.
Make mine
Silverline.
Hi, I'm Dave Dorman. Make mine Silverline.